And a chance now to remind you of more Gaelic games coming up here on TV3. Every Friday we have all the latest news and discussion and championship throw-in at 6:30. And tomorrow at 5 minutes to midday we'll have episode 2 of the GA History Series, Part of What We Are. The fastest game on earth looks at the history of hurling. And our coverage of the Leinster Senior Football Final commences at 1 tomorrow, with throw-in at Croke Park at 2. And then next weekend we'll have 2 more games. On Saturday, it's the first pick in round 3 of the qualifiers, and then on Sunday, the traditional Battle of the West as Galway take on Mayo in the Connacht final. Now, the rain is bucketing down here in Pearse Park in Longford. So, Senan Connell, is it possible? Jack O'Connor's lost here before in his first game. He's under a lot of pressure in relation to performance at Kerry, and then he sees weather, which I suppose is typical Kerry weather. Could he perhaps be worrying that maybe the fates are starting to conspire against him?
I'd say he is a little bit worried. You know, he would have loved a sunny day here in Pearse Park, but again, this is going to play, I think, into the Longford's hands. If they can just win possession in midfield, get it into those inside forward men, and maybe get a goal. They haven't scored an awful lot in Championship football. They've only 1 goal in 2 games, and the highest score is 113 in all matches. It's not going to be enough to beat Kerry, but if they can rattle Kerry early, stay in the game, don't let Kerry dominate that middle third of the pitch. You know, we could nearly see an upset match. I wouldn't go as far as say we definitely will, but you know, taking the conditions we might.
I think they might need snow rather than rain.
I don't think hard.
Yeah, I think you can overplay the wet or the rain situation, because let's face it, the more skillful team's going to adapt. Everybody here has played in wet conditions before, and if you look at the better games last year, Kerry and Galway was a fantastic game, and the skills were executed perfectly in dreadful conditions. I'll remind you that Tyrone played very well last year in dreadful conditions against Dublin, so you know, it shouldn't really have a big bearing.
Okay, so who are you looking out for particularly on the Kerry team today to start showing themselves and proving themselves again?
Well, there's one young and one older. Aidan O'Shea is a big game for him, because physically very strong, very fast, very athletic like his father. But he's got a chance now. He's in the team, so he's got a chance to stake a claim for a place. And if he plays well, he'll stay there. And the other one who has plenty of experience and has done it before in the big stage is a Gooch. We want to see him back to his old form again, something to what he can do.
OK, we'll be talking about Peter and Senan at half-time, but now we're going to go over to our commentary team of Paul Early and Mike Finnerty.
So, for the second time in 4 years, the All-Ireland qualifiers have brought together Longford and Kerry, 2 teams with very different ambitions this summer, but both looking to get back on track here at Pearse Park this evening. Now, former Kildare footballer Glenn Ryan has kept faith with the Longford team that got the job done away to Leitrim last weekend. Barry Gillerin from Longford Slashers is selected at full-back, 3 years after playing in the same position against Kerry and Kieran Donaghy in Killarney. At the other end of the field, Francis McGee leads the attack and will wear number 11, with top scorer Pádraig Berry alongside him. If Longford are to have a chance, they will need more scores from number 15, Brian Kavanagh, an All-Ireland club winner with Kilmacud Crokes. Well, it's been a month since Kerry exited the Munster Championship against Cork, and Jack O'Connor has made some big decisions in the interim. He makes 5 changes to the team that started last time out, and only a handful of players are in the same positions. The defence has a new-look spine, with the versatile Tommy Griffin now at number 3 and Mark O'Shea at 6. Seamus Scanlon also returns at midfield, while the full forward line looks more balanced, with the selection of fit again Kieran Donaghy at number 14. Our match referee this evening, Garoj O'Canova from the village of Clonbur in County Galway, his 3rd game of this year's championship, also took charge of Tipperary Limerick and Tyrone Derry up in Ulster. Now, we do believe that Kerry won the toss, and they've elected to play into the Sligo Road end in the first half. That will mean they will have the aid of whatever wind and rain there is at their back in the first half. And on an evening when playing conditions are very, very difficult, Paul Early, winning the toss could be crucial away from home on a night like this.
Yeah, in a normal environment it would, I think, but it's actually the town goal that's the scoring goal here in Longford traditionally. So Longford will be happy, I think, to play in there in the first half. But I suppose even though Jack O'Connor has carried out major surgery in positional changes in particular, Kerry are still overwhelming favourites to win. But I think Longford should take a lot of encouragement and maybe some inspiration from Limerick's performance last week versus Cork. I think both Longford and Limerick were relegated from Division 3 earlier in the year, and Limerick certainly proved they're a much better team than their league position suggested. And I think it's a great opportunity for Glenn Ryan and for this Longford team to prove to themselves that they're an improving team, and really to put it up to Kerry. It's a great opportunity for them to play in a serious contest against the All-Ireland champion, or the All-Ireland contenders, I should say.
Well, before we get underway here at Pearse Park, the national anthem from Marie McCormack from the Emmett Oak Club. Haunting rendition of the national anthem by Marie McCormack from the Emmett Oak Club in Killaloe. This, of course, just the third time that Kerry and Longford have met in championship combat. The first time back in 1968, the All-Ireland semi-final, won by Kerry by 2 points. And who will ever forget 3 years ago that epic qualifier game in Killarney when Owen Brosnan's hat-trick carried Kerry to a 3-goal victory. And remember, ironically, of course, this venue, Pearse Park, is where Jack O'Connor's management career began with Kerry. A National League game that they lost to Longford. The rest, of course, has been history, most of it of the good variety for Kerry. So the scene set. Jack O'Connor and his Kerry management team, they've gone back to the drawing board and made plenty of changes. Will it work out? Let's find out. Kerry to play from left to right in this first half in their traditional colours of green and gold. Longford in their home colours too, and they will be hoping to get off to a good solid start here and put down a marker. An early touch for Brian Kavanagh. So much expected of the Longford talisman. Kerry defending the town end, defending the scoring goal in this first half. Chance for the Longford captain, Paul Barden, but didn't really get hold of it. Kerry have plenty of bodies back there behind the ball. Among them, Tomás O'Shea. This is Declan O'Sullivan. Very much the playmaker in the Kerry team. Looking for Tommy Welch, but intercepted back there by Noel Farrell. Just looking around at the Longford defence, Barry Gilleran is picking up Kieran Donaghy just like he did 3 years ago. Ball driven in by Sean Sullivan. First touch of the championship for Donaghy. Cooper's kick is a Gary Owen. Testing out Gilleran. And there to win the break is Declan Riley. And Longford's defence penalised. Ball touched on the ground. But a first glimpse of Donaghy in full flight.
Yes, he used his strength just to push Barry Gilleran off the ball there. Won it well. Gooch a little bit tentative in that kick, but it was a clear pick off the ground early on. But very evident that they're going to kick the high ball in straight away. And Longford have made a couple of changes, positional switches. They've got Dermot Brady out on Donaghy Walsh.
Well, in the absence of Brian Sheehan, we wondered who would do the free taking for Kerry on that left-hand side. It's Sean O'Sullivan. Nice, easy one to start. Makes no mistake, and that's his first score of the championship.
Yeah, it's a good start for Sean O'Sullivan. Just making the point about a couple of positional switches. Dermot Brady has moved out to mark Donaghy Walsh, and Noel Farrell, number 7, has gone in on an enviable task of handling Tommy Walsh.
There's Glenn Ryan, 36 years of age, still playing club football with Round Towers in Kildare. And that's a good kick out from Damien Sheridan, leaving it into the lap of Noel Farrell, straight from the training ground. And Longford get their free. Longford, of course, coming into this game on the back of a morale-boosting win over Leitrim last weekend, but this is different territory altogether. Tommy Griffin at full-back for Kerry this evening. Very, very experienced player. began the championship in the middle of the field, but he too has been moved in an effort to shore up this Kerry defence. Francis McGee, the man who directs operations for the Longford half-forward line. Looking for Kavanagh. In there scrapping is Cian Mimna. Quick hands back to Barden. Little tug on the jersey of the Longford captain. Well, they certainly have started positively, Longford, taking the game to Kerry and looking lively up front.
Yes, and Dermot Brady, playing at wing half back now, has got it on the ball a couple of times early on, and Longford will certainly want to test the new look Kerry full back line. Obviously Killian Young in there normally plays wing half back. Tommy Griffin has played midfield, played centre back, played wing back in championship already, so they'll want to put ball in there quickly in front of Brian Kavanagh and Cian Mimna.
So Francie McGee from Dromard makes no mistake. Level after 4 minutes here at Pearse Park, and on an evening when free taking will be tricky to say the least, with the swirling wind and the rain to contend with. That will do his confidence no harm at all. This is Diarmuid Murphy. Has had to pick the ball out of his net twice this summer. The all-star goalkeeper. That's a big booming kick out, carries all the way deep into the Longford half. This is Diarmuid Masterson. They call him the Bull in Longford. The man breaking out of defence is Ger Denigan. Colm Cooper keeping him company. Just leaving the hand in a little bit too long there, and Longford have the free. Declan Riley spotting the loose man in the centre. And now Francie McGee. Plenty to aim at inside. Mimna and Griffin contesting that ball. McGee quickest to the break, and support there from Pádraig Berry. Very pacey wing forward. Kerry blocking up all the avenues of attack. McGee taking the scenic route. What a ball to pick out. Kevin Smith trying to get onto that left foot. This is Kavanagh. Good defending by Kerry. Now Pádraig Berry. Man outside in support. Good patient build-up, but the shot in the end from Enda Williams. He's not renowned as a scorer, the centre-back, more of a stopper. But a nice measured build-up. The finish, unfortunately, didn't match the approach work.
Yeah, Longford playing with some confidence at the moment, moving the ball around nicely there. They want to get the ball, obviously, into to their key shooters, Brian Kavanagh, Mimna, Paul Barden, and unfortunately went out to the wing, or to the centre half back on that occasion, and from a difficult angle. It's kicked it wide, but it's going to be difficult again to get scores, because the pressure that defenders are going to put players under with the wet conditions means that you've got to be very accurate with your kicking and kick from reasonably central positions to get the scores today.
Ball picked off the ground by Aidan O'Shea, starting a championship match for Kerry this evening for the first time. Son of the legendary Jackal. Longford go long, trying to isolate Kavanagh. Very well played by Tom O'Sullivan. And this is the Kerry captain this evening, Donncha Walsh. Now Aidan O'Shea, who's switched wings. Tomás O'Shea, little look up to see where Donaghy is. Tommy Walsh saw that ball land around his bootlaces. It certainly is not an evening for fancy football. Diarmuid Masterson in there scrapping for possession. And the sheer weight of numbers means that Longford win the ball back. Shane Mulligan wins the free. They closed ranks very quickly there, blocking up the space, and got the job done.
Yeah, certainly, they're certainly up for the fight, Longford. They're getting their bodies in, moving well, tackling the ball, and their skills are pretty good so far.
Man who kicked the free is Kevin Smith. Darragh O'Shea just sitting back there in front of the full back line, playing that holding role. Nice knockdown from Declan O'Sullivan. Knew exactly where Donncha Walsh was. O'Sullivan again, always so quick to get his head up. Donaghy, that trademark run to the corner. Gillerin rising into the air alongside him. This, of course, Donaghy's first game for Kerry since the league final back in April. Reported to be flying in training, holding up that ball. Support coming from Sean O'Sullivan. outnumbered 3-1. This is Cooper linking up with his old sparring partner Donaghy. Kerry go all the way back out the field to Tomás O'Shea. They're queuing up. Killian Young's shot well blocked down by Barden. Might break for Tommy Walsh. Pure quality finish from Tommy Walsh. Well, when it rains it pours, and Longford's luck was out with Tommy Walsh getting onto that break.
Yes, a bit of luck, but that was sheer strength on behalf of Tommy Walsh. But there is a question mark about, did he touch the ball on the ground here? No, give him the benefit of the doubt, but he just put his hip in, got the right side of the defender, bounced him out of the way. Bit unlucky because Paul Barden put in a very, very good block, but it just squirted out to Tommy Walsh, and an excellent finish.
Well, Tommy Walsh has the distinction of scoring Kerry's first goal in this year's championship. It comes in the 9th minute here at Pearse Park in Longford, and it catapults Kerry into a 3-point lead. Smith jumping with Darragh O'Shea. Kerry will look to turn the screw now and get a run on Longford. They scored 4 goals against them back in 2006. They were the scorers that ultimately made the difference. And here is the goal scorer, Tommy Walsh. Donaghy moving into position. Walsh trying to hold off Noel Farrell. Such a strong young man. Hit that with some power, but it's well wide. Well, he tips the scales at 16.5 stone. He's 6'4", and he's a hard man to stop.
Yes, and immediately after he kicked that ball, I could see Jack O'Connor having a bit of a go at him. I think he was looking for him to offload the ball outside. There was a couple of free players outside, maybe in a better position. But Longford at this stage, they're playing Paul Barden, who's playing at 13, is out around the middle. He's working very hard. They're playing 2 men inside, Mimna and Kavanagh. Obviously their tactic is to move the ball as quickly as possible inside, but Kerry, it's very obvious they're kicking high ball into Kieran Donaghy, and that's paying dividends so far.
Francie McGee. Masterson kicking under pressure. Again, he looks for Kavanagh's corner, but Tom O'Sullivan was expecting that ball. Moved to the left corner this evening and looks far more comfortable there. Donncha Walsh beavering away in that half-forward line. That's why he's in the team. Donaghy all the way across to the flank, but Barry Gilleran does well initially. The fullback from Longford Slashers. You wonder how he slept last night. He was the man that picked up Donaghy back in 2006. Loose marking from Longford. Tomás O'Shea up from wing back, and he has all the time in the world to pick his spot and extend the Kerry lead. Longford's minds just wandering for a moment and punished ruthlessly.
Yes, and again, a good finish from Tomás O'Shea, but it was a skiller. Barry Gilleran got out in front of Donaghy, did well to do that, but should have gone down on the ball, and the ball just leaked over the sideline. And they kind of give Kerry opportunities like that. And what they're doing at the moment is Kerry, they're attacking from the half-back line as well, which they weren't allowed to do in the Munster semi-final against Cork. So they'll want to continue to do that and get the 2 O'Sheas, who are very good, accurate kickers, kicking those long cross-field balls to the 2 big men inside.
Kick-out finds its way to Dermot Brady. Damien Sheridan's kick-outs have been accurate, if nothing else, early on. But Kerry have won the ball back, isolating Donaghy inside. The runners arriving left and right. Sean O'Sullivan just making an angle for himself. Very stylish player, got the kick away, but credit to Diarmuid Masterson there. Just ran across the kicker. But Donaghy looks like he hasn't been away at all.
No, he's been involved in pretty much everything so far, and he's out in front. Barry Gilleran will just have to decide how he plays him. For the high balls, he may have to just maybe stand 3 or 4 yards away and try and attack the ball, you know, get a bit of a run and try and punch the ball away from him, because he's a bit shorter than him and also probably not as strong as Donaghy. So if he tries to muscle in, Donaghy's more likely to be able to knock him away and catch those balls uncontested.
Well, for once, Damien Sheridan miscuing that kick out, and possession back to Kerry, trying to move the ball quickly. Declan O'Sullivan, once more they're looking for Donaghy. Tommy Walsh read the break. So many options. One of them is Tomas O'Shea. And that is Kerry's third wide. But they were literally queuing up there, either side of Tommy Walsh. Kerry pushing their half-backs forward. And at this stage, Longford and their manager, Glenn Ryan, must be wondering how they can get out of their own half again and get some more scores on the board.
Yeah, that's the most challenging thing for Glenn at this stage. Midfield is on top. The half-backs are moving forward. Donaghy in particular, Tommy Walsh, both on top early on. So maybe he might think about playing an extra player behind in front of Donaghy, a sweeper perhaps, just to stop the hemorrhaging at this stage.
Ball touched on the ground and Longford have a free. Crowd somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 expected here at Pearse Park. Capacity in and around 15,000. And first 14 minutes have flown by. A good open game of football. And the goal from Tommy Walsh, the major difference. Darragh O'Shea picking out that pass. Walsh out in front of his man, looking for Cooper, but Declan Riley, from our vantage point here, looked to have done well. He got his hand in, but Garo Jokanova felt that Declan Riley was fouling Colm Cooper, who's had a quiet first quarter of an hour.
He has, yes, and certainly I think that was a good challenge. He got his hand in, he didn't do anything to try and pull down the player, so, you know, a bad decision, I think, by the referee there. But again, Longford, you know, they're playing their defence, their full back line is playing from behind. They're probably a bit concerned that if they do play out in front, the high ball is going to go inside and create goal opportunities, but I think they have to take those risks and attack the ball and play from in front of Tommy Walsh and Kieran Donaghy.
Well, that is Colm Cooper's 8th point of the championship this summer. Interestingly, though, just 2 of them have come from open play. He hasn't had a good start to his championship season, but there's a long way to go. 15 minutes gone. Kerry lead by 5 points, and we can hear from the studio and Peter Canavan.
Mike, for Longford at this stage, I think they're struggling in midfield big time to win first phase possession. But another area they're falling down on, Shane Mulligan is dropping back to try and cut out the space in front of Donaghy and Gooch, and as a result of that, Tomas O'Shea is a free man for Kerry around the midfield. He's winning a lot of breaking ball, but he's also pressing forward. He already has scored a point, so someone would need to be aware of his surging runs.
Well, certainly Tomas O'Shea has been a key man for Kerry in this first quarter, and not the kind of player you can afford to leave unmarked. Another ball hanging for Donaghy. Gilleran got a hand to it. Cooper, quickest to react, and Donncha Walsh with the snapshot, and that's his first point of the game. Well, they have missed Kieran Donaghy on the edge of the square, certainly missed him against Cork. 6'5" of pure quality, and he is directing traffic in there on the edge of the square. Kerry lead by 6 now.
Yes, and Gooch and Donaghy almost have a telepathic understanding between them. It was a lovely palm ball out to the edge of the 20-metre line, and Gooch read it very well and then just popped it out to Donncha Walsh, an easy point for him. But Kerry are playing with much more confidence than they did against Cork when they have the 2 big men inside, and particularly with Donaghy back. That has been their game plan for the last, I suppose, since 2006. And he's such a powerful, dominant figure in the air and can find passes because of his basketball background as well, can find passes off either hand, has great vision. And the players obviously lift when they're playing beside him and when he's on the team.
Well, this will be a worry for Glenn Ryan. Noel Farrell, the left half back, is down injured and receiving attention. Plays his club football with Colmkill, the county champions. Thankfully back on his feet again. And that's a misplaced kick out from Damien Sheridan in his efforts to keep it away from the likes of Darragh O'Shea and Seamus Scanlon. He's found touch, and once more Kerry look for Donaghy. Donncha Walsh reading the break. Kieran Donaghy looking very keen and sharp, linking up with Tommy Walsh. The offload to Declan O'Sullivan. Well, there's very little you can do about that. The speed of mind and the speed of hands epitomised by Tommy Walsh there, and the finish from Declan O'Sullivan.
Yes, it was a fine finish, but it's far too easy for the Kerry forwards at this stage. There's a high floating ball across in there from Donaghy. Tommy Walsh won it uncontested. You cannot allow forwards of that calibre to win ball without being tackled hard or worked very hard in those positions. They're winning the ball 2 and 3 yards away from the full back line at this stage. They've got to become more competitive, or else Kerry are going to go out of sight.
Breaking ball won by Longford. Enda Williams. Once more, they're looking for Brian Kavanagh's corner. But Kerry have read the playbook, and Tomás O'Shea to Seamus Scanlon, another man making his first appearance of the summer, and maybe just showing a little bit of ring rustiness there. Technical foul spotted by Garo Jokanova. Longford haven't scored now since the 4th minute of the game. That a free from this man, Francie McGee. Just need now to get the scoreboard moving again before Kerry build up ahead of steam. Enda Williams trying to find a little gap. This is Paul Barden. Player closest to him is Killian Young. And Diarmuid Murphy policing the square. Possession now with Mark O'Shea. Hasn't had a chance to get forward in this game yet, as Tommy Griffin is caught in possession, and in goes Paul Barden. Barden, with the roar of the crowd ringing in his ears, takes his point. The sensible option. Well, Tommy Griffin just caught dawdling there and punished by Barden.
Yes, and all credit there to Pádraig Berry. He worked really hard. Good pressure on the Kerry defence coming out. And to be fair, Pádraig Berry is working his socks off in the first 20 minutes of this game. But good finish and an important confidence boost to Longford at this stage. They do need to get Paul Barden on the ball an awful lot more, because he has the pace and the footballing skills to be able to punish the Kerry defence.
So Longford's first score in 16 minutes leaves us with a 6-point game, as Mark O'Shea drifts out to the wing, looking up. A couple of runs being made, but elects instead to hold possession. Sean O'Sullivan. Once more, Kerry content to play keep ball, as Darragh O'Shea's pass is intercepted. Good defending by Dermot Brady. Brian Kavanagh beaten to it again by Tom O'Sullivan. He's getting very little change out of the corner back from Rathmore. That trademark high solo from Tomás O'Shea to Tommy Walsh. Declan O'Sullivan. Once more, Donaghy is the intended target. Gilleran trying to stay with him. Lovely skill from Donaghy. Shovel back out to Cooper. That's his 3rd point from play in the championship. His 2nd of the evening. And his old relationship with Donaghy rekindled again.
Absolutely, and you said it earlier, Mike, you wouldn't think he was away. You certainly wouldn't. Kieran Donaghy is playing tremendous football. Long reach. Knocks it down, wins his own ball. Again, shouldn't be allowed to happen. Gooch always within a couple of yards of Donaghy, able to pass it out with his left hand. His vision, his awareness is tremendous. And you can see again that the Kerry forward line much happier with Donaghy playing inside.
So Kerry, who are playing with the aid of the breeze and the rain here at Pearse Park, lead by 7 points. And that's a good take by Scanlon. Mark O'Shea, a footballing centre-back from his head to his toes. Good on a spade work, though, by Shane Mulligan to win the ball back. Once more, they try and feed Kavanagh. He's been off form in the championship this summer so far, Brian Kavanagh, surrounded there by a swarm of Kerry defenders. And another attack peters out as Darragh O'Shea makes as much ground as he wants to, and once more picks out Donaghy. He had a clear run to that ball. Cooper fouled by Diarmuid Masterson. Well, very little doubt about that. Once Diarmuid Masterson from Dramard came across Colin Cooper, it was only going to be one outcome. But you get the feeling that Kerry are getting back into that groove again. And the return of Donaghy absolutely central to everything they've done so far.
No doubt about that, but I think credit also to Tom O'Sullivan in the full back line. He was under pressure against Daniel Goulding in the last game in the Munster semi-final, and he's sticking like glue to Brian Kavanagh, who's one of Longford's key forwards, and he dispossessed him there, and from that dispossession the ball was moved up the field and Kerry got that another score.
Well, mention of Brian Kavanagh, and Glenn Ryan is making a change. He's taking off the corner forward and bringing in number 17, David Barden, after 23.5 minutes. Brian Kavanagh, the man who won the All-Ireland club medal with Kilmacud Crooks earlier this year, the talisman in the Longford forward line, just hasn't been his evening.
No, he hasn't had as good a year as he had back in 2006. Just struggled to get away from Tom O'Sullivan. Tight marking there. A lot of ball went into him, and Kerry were able to come out pretty easily with it. So you can understand why Glenn Ryan has made that switch at this stage.
So the gap now stands at 8 points. And once more, Kerry's defence looking very organised and comfortable on the ball. Touch here for Aidan O'Shea from Glenbeigh Glencar to Declan O'Sullivan, all alone. And now Darragh O'Shea didn't even need to look there, knew exactly where O'Sullivan would be. Cooper trying to drop the shoulder and does just that. Takes the point at his ease. That's 4 points for Cooper, 2 from play. And it's almost the perfect build-up and the perfect finish.
Yeah, a little bit too easy again, but Gooch got on the inside of his marker, Declan Riley, there, and pops it over the bar. I think that was an open-handed point, which shouldn't be allowed, and I can't understand. It's one of the bugbears of the game. I can't understand why referees choose not to enforce the rule. The rule is very clear. It says that a player in possession of the ball may not score a point with his open hand, but may score a point by fisting the ball. And I think, 9 times out of 10 in championship games that we've seen, indeed league games, players are hand passing the ball over the bar and are not been penalised for it. So either they enforce the rule or we change the rule.
Well, that's very true, and the least of Longford's worries, though. They are in dire straits here. Donaghy to Cooper. They make it look very easy when they link up like that. How Kerry have missed Kieran Donaghy these last 3 or 4 weeks. His return to the edge of the square has changed everything.
You just have to admire the skill there. He just, a beautifully floated ball in, got up with his right hand, palmed it down to Gooch, who had looped around a couple of yards in front. A wonderful execution of skill there. But again, you have to question the pressure that he's under in there. It's a bit too easy in the full forward line for Kerry at this stage. Longford have got to become more competitive.
Well, with 9 minutes left in the first half, Colm Cooper has just hit 4 points in a row. You have to wonder what Glenn Ryan and his selectors, Mickey Harkin and Ambrose McGowan, are thinking. They need to do something and do it quickly. Sean O'Sullivan, once more, the diagonal ball right from the training ground at Fitzgerald Stadium in Killarney. Foul on Tommy Walsh. Something needs to be done fairly quickly, Paul.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and I know Peter mentioned early on about Longford dropping an extra player back. They haven't been doing that effectively, actually. They've been trying to play the orthodox 15-man game, and okay, Paul Barden is coming out around the middle of the field. They're playing 2 men inside, but they're not dropping a man directly back in front of Donaghy, in front of Tommy Walsh, to stop them making the runs. They're playing too far out the field. They're leaving loads of space inside. And again, as I said, and I've said it a number of times at this stage, Donaghy and Walsh in particular will win ball all day if they're allowed to contest without being tackled and without being competed against. And the full back line will just have to tackle that bit harder.
So the industry of Tommy Walsh winning the free that's converted at his ease by Sean O'Sullivan. His second point from a free. Noel Farrell also booked in that last passage of play. 2 Longford players now in Garage O'Canova's little black book, and the gap has swollen to 11 points. And with about 7.5 minutes of normal time left in this first half, let's hear from the studio and Senan Connell.
Yes, Mike, it's all too easy for Kerry at this stage. Longford got off to a good start, a lot of endeavour, a lot of industry, but that sucker blow after 8 minutes, that Tommy Walsh goals changed the face of this game. Kerry dominating in the middle of the park. Kieran O'Donnelly's on fire inside. He's been very unselfish, laying the ball off and tipping balls down to the on-running forwards. Big goal from class here, and Kerry can kick on if they keep winning quality possession in the middle of the park, Mike.
Well, certainly that gulf in class, very obvious when you look at the league tables. Kerry, the reigning Division 1 champions. Longford, of course, relegated from Division 3 down to Division 4 at the end of the spring. And while Longford would have been hoping this evening to have closed that gap with work rate and commitment and intensity, sheer quality has been very obvious, in particular around the edge of the square where Donaghy has been ruling the roost. Mark O'Shea back to Declan O'Sullivan. Again, he has a little bit more time than usual to weigh up his options. Tomas O'Shea, not quite sure if that was a solo, but he got away with it. Again, Seamus Scanlon is handling, letting him down, and it will take him a little bit of a time to get back to the pace of championship football. Man in possession for Longford is Kevin Smith, kicking it right down the throat of Scanlon. Longford giving possession away far too cheaply. Sean O'Sullivan trying to leave that one on a plate for Donaghy, but covering back there is Diarmuid Masterson. This is Barry Gilleran. Longford trying to play themselves out of trouble. Declan Riley freed from his defensive duties for just a moment, but Longford are bringing the ball into traffic here. Shane Mulligan. Barry Gilleran under pressure, does well, and then again gives possession away. No Kerry player inside the 45. They must recycle and bide their time. Killian Young. Movement inside now from Declan O'Sullivan. The pace of this game has slowed noticeably in the last few minutes. Kerry with an 11-point cushion. And that meandering passage of play comes to an end with a foul on Noel Farrell. Pádraig Berry going in spectacularly, but couldn't hold that ball. And the rain, which has been falling incessantly here in Longford for the last couple of hours, making life difficult. Donaghy this time trying to turn provider, but the pass was poor. Kevin Smith. Francie McGee using his body wisely there. Nice little chip lift as well. Now just two men inside to aim at, as Pádraig Berry tries his luck down along the left-hand side. This is Cian Mimna. Has seen very little of the ball in this first half. Kevin Smith. One man inside is David Barden. Does well. Needs support. It comes from Mimna. Now he's hit a couple of points in the championship, and that's his third. Under 21 last year. If he can get the ball in his hands, he's capable of causing problems. He hasn't seen it often enough, though. That's Longford's third point.
Yes, that was a good patient build-up by Longford, and a wonderful finish by Cian Mimna, just on his left foot, curled the ball over beautifully. And I suppose Glenn Ryan, you'd have to think that Glenn Ryan in the build-up to this game would have stressed to the players the importance of putting the Kerry players, the kickers in particular, out around the middle of the field under extreme pressure, when they're not to allow them have space to kick those lovely floated balls into Donaghy and Tommy Walsh. And I think that would be one of the most disappointing aspects of the first half to Glenn Ryan, in that the players, the two O'Sheas, Declan O'Sullivan in particular, are getting loads of time to hit those lovely high balls in to the full forward line.
Well, this latest Kerry attack comes to nothing. Glenn Ryan has just made his second change of the evening as well. Paddy Dowd from Clongish is in to replace Ger Denigan. Denigan, who just couldn't get into the game during this first half. That point from Cian Mimna. Longford's first score for 11 minutes. And I'm sure at this stage Glenn Ryan is just anxious to get his team into the dressing rooms, try and regroup and get themselves reorganised for the second half. Kerry in complete control. Enda Williams looking for Mimna, does well, somehow stole it from Griffin. This is Barden, chance of something, he's gone for the goal, good save twice from Diarmuid Murphy. Well, he had very little option, he had to go for it, but that's why Diarmuid Murphy has won 2 All-Stars. Great chance.
Great chance, yeah. Lovely quick hands by Cian Mimna. Good first stop, great second stop by Murphy, but again, Paul Barden, a player of his experience, you know, maybe should have kept it along the floor. It was a perfect height for a goalkeeper, but credit to Diarmuid Murphy. 2 excellent saves, good reaction save, the second one.
Well, Kerry have had their 1 goal chance, of course, at the other end, taken ruthlessly by Tommy Walsh. Longford unable to do likewise. Can they come away with something? McGee doesn't have the legs, and the flick not enough to trouble Murphy on this occasion either. Tommy Griffin, who was robbed of possession in the build-up to that Longford chance. Again, the pressure is good from Pádraig Berry, but he was applying too much pressure, in the opinion of Garo Jokanova. But they may be trailing by 10 points. But in particular, the work rate of their half-forward line hasn't dipped since the start. And if they could get more ball in there, Paul, they do look dangerous.
Oh, they certainly do, and I've been impressed with Cian Mimna in the last 5 or 7 minutes. He's won quite a bit of ball, and Pádraig Berry and Shane Mulligan are tackling very, very hard. And late in the day, Dermot Brady has drifted back in front of the full forward line, the Kerry full forward line, as the extra defender, but it might be just a little bit too late.
Well, we'll have at least 1 minute of additional time at the end of this first half. Perhaps time for Longford to work something. David Barden fancies his luck, and that's a fine score from the Longford substitute. Well taken, but they need more of them.
Absolutely, yeah. No, well, at least Glen Ryle will have something at half-time to focus on. They finishing the half well. They started the half well, they finished the half well, but in between, Kerry just dominated the quality of their play. But again, the lack of competitiveness will be the thing, I think, that Glen Ryan, who's one of the most competitive players of the last 15 years, will be most disappointed about.
Big booming kick out from Murphy, working its way into the Longford half. Tommy Walsh, Donaghy has broken from the edge of the square. Walsh trying to drop it in there, but in the end it was neither a pass nor a shot. Kerry's 5th wide, but 1-10 in the first half of any championship game is not bad going. Jack O'Connor and his selectors Ger O'Keefe and Eamon Fitzmaurice will be quite pleased overall. Not so this man Glen Ryan. Plenty for him to talk about in the dressing rooms at half-time, as Garo Jokanova brings an end to this first half. Tommy Walsh's goal getting Kerry off to the perfect start, and they haven't really looked back. It's a long way back from Longford, but 35 minutes still to go at half-time here at Pearse Park in Longford. That's the way it looks. Kerry 1 goal and 10, Longford 4 points. Do rejoin us after the break for half-time analysis.
Welcome back to Pearse Park here in Longford, where the rain is pouring down, and you wonder if Longford will want to come out for the second half. They've been taught a lesson by Kerry. A goal and 10 to 4 points. The Gooch coming back to some form. 5 points for Colm Cooper in the first half. Let's have a look at the statistics, because it has been a half of dominance for Kerry. 66% possession. It's rare that you see that, but perhaps a small concern. 5 wides out of the 16 shots at goal, and of course just 4 points for Longford, 10 efforts at goal. Let's go to Peter and Senan. Peter, I suppose we did expect Kerry to win this match, but did you think it was going to be as easy as it has been for them?
Well, they are playing with strong breeze there, but no, I didn't think they were going to have it all their own way. And the thing that Glen Ryan will be most disappointed in, as a player himself, he was a fierce competitor, played with great heart and great spirit, and his team have failed to do that in the first half. But we talked about midfield, where there's a lot of breaking ball. It's Kerry who are forced in on it and have the bite and the appetite, so that's going to disappoint.
But you know, they say the goals win games, but they can also change games. Longford has started brightly. How unlucky were they when it came to the goal after 8 minutes?
Well, I think it was Paul Barden actually made a good block, but the cornerback was caught sleeping. Probably should have been out in front of Tommy Walsh at that stage. Question marks about whether or not he actually touched it on the ground. I don't think he did. But again, for such a big man, it was a subtle finish, low and hard to the bottom corner.
Sam, we're an underdog though. How bad a blow was that so early in the game?
Well, considering they started so well, and it was the start that they wanted, they were showing everything, showing the kitchen sink at Kerry, you know, from the moment the ball was thrown in, and they were actually playing quite well, even though they weren't getting the ball into Brian Kavanagh. Around the middle third of the pitch, they were competing. That's a sucker blow, because we know they need to be in the game after 15-20 minutes.
Now, of course, people are writing Kerry off after the defeat to Cork, but Kieran Donaghy didn't play in either of the games against Cork. How influential has he been on his return?
Well, it's proven today. He's the player that makes Kerry tick, and it's no coincidence that Colin Cooper's having his best game in the championship either. You know, Kieran Donaghy, I mentioned earlier, he's not a selfish player. He brings everybody into the game, and Colin Cooper's just standing off and winning breaking balls. You can see Kerry are just floating balls in from angles all over the place. The half-back line midfielders are, you know, they're pulling their chin up. They're looking for Kieran Donaghy inside on the edge of the square, and they know that's an out for them. They just didn't have it against Cork in the two previous matches.
So, Peter, just giving Kerry people hope it's 2006 all over again. Donaghy in a full forward, and suddenly everything's okay.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that everyone's okay. We haven't really seen them tested too much yet, but the difference in Gooch has been amazing, simply because of the sheer presence of Kieran Donaghy there, and so much has come off him.
Okay, what are Longford going to have to do, Shannon, to try and just stay and make sure this isn't an absolute rout?
Well, they have to go for the jugular, I think, right from the very start. You know, primary possession across in the middle section of the pitch has been a problem for the whole game. Darragh O'Shea has come into his own, and if they're not winning that primary possession, they're not going to win this game. You know, this is a classic example of Paul Barden. You know, he's been one of their main players. Peter mentioned there to me a couple of minutes ago, he's lacking a bit of pace. Great save by Dermot Murphy. You know, but
they really needed that, didn't they?
Just needed that goal. That was their mini revival there.
We also said he was direct, and in that instance he actually went away from the goal rather than going towards it, which was strange. And the two shots that he had, they were both at the perfect height for the goalkeeper to get his hands. If he had put either on the ground, they probably would have went in.
So is this clearly a team that's a Division 3, bottom of Division 3, and we're seeing why?
Absolutely. There's a goal from class, and you can see it happening there as well. And David Barden, or Paul Barden, looked like a player who was lacking a bit of confidence as he ran on goal. Now, they did score a point after. If they had got the goal 110 to 1-4, might have shaken Kerry a little bit.
Okay, we've got to take a break, and we'll be back after this. We're back here in Pearse Park in Longford, where the rain is absolutely teeming down at present. And unfortunately, the home team, which has a tradition of putting it up to the big names when they come here, is not doing so and is not cheering up a very wet group of spectators here. Let's talk a little bit more about Kerry, though, Peter Canavan, because they are the team that people expect to be challenging for the All-Ireland. What have you seen tactically, position in the forwards today? Suggest maybe something a little bit different.
Well, first of all, the appetite's there, and the sign of that is the amount of breaking ball they're winning around midfield. So Kerry's well up for it, and their forwards are getting plenty of ball played into them. Tactically, it's interesting from the point of view that Donaghy and Cooper are playing up front. It's like they're playing with 3 twos. Donaghy and Cooper is in the full forward line. Tommy Walsh is coming out 30-40 yards from goal, and it seems to be him and Sean O'Sullivan are playing as a second pair, and then you have Donaghy, Walsh and Declan O'Sullivan who are further out in the middle. But the fact that they're getting so much ball coming in, you know, it's inevitable that the players at that calibre that they're going to get the scores.
So we shouldn't read too much into it,
I think, Peter, they could be papering over the cracks here. They're not playing against a top-class side. They're allowed possession, they're allowed prime possession and time on the ball. You know, and any team is going to look good when they're actually doing that. Fair enough, they're changing their tactics, and it's something that might work for them later on the summer. But from a Longford point of view, they just have to get closer to them. I know, put it up to Kerry here. Longford, after losing two of their best players, Jared Dennigan has gone off, and Brian Kavanagh was meant to be their chief scorer getter, and that doesn't augur well for the second half for them.
Yeah,
but they weren't their best players tonight, by any means.
No, coming into the game, there were 2 players we earmarked.
But the tactic, Paul alluded to it in his commentary, that there was no sign of a player dropping back. In the first 15-20 minutes, the Longford plan was for their number 12, Shane Mulligan, to drop back. As soon as Kerry had possession, it was his job to get back. He was on Aidan O'Shea at the start, so what Jack O'Connor done was moved Tomás O'Shea onto Shane Mulligan, which freed up Tomás O'Shea. And in the first 20 minutes of the game, Tomás O'Shea had 10 possessions. He also kicked a point and set up numerous other scores. So then they couldn't keep going with that tactic. So they dropped Mulligan back out to half forward to stop O'Shea again, which created further space in front of Donaghy and Cook. But the amount of ball coming in was relentless.
Maybe they have a new tactic for the second half. Maybe they're just not going to come out.
I think this is the way from it. Yeah, they might as well stay inside now for a few minutes while the rain is still heavy. But it's interesting to see there is a couple of players I think for Longford who are doing their best. Patrick Berry there, who was man of the match the last against Legion, was trying his heart out inside. He just, balls are spinning away from him. He's trying to work it inside to Keane Mimna. If he can get it, he might get a couple of scores. They have a bit of a wind here. They have to let it in early as well, man.
Okay, here comes the Longford team at last out into the teeming rain here at Pearse Park. So let's go back to our commentary team of Paul Early and Mike Finnerty.
Well, all set to go for the second half, and Kerry first back out onto the field, and well they might, in control here at Pearse Park at half-time, and obviously in the mood to close this game out as quickly as possible. Just flicking through the record books at half-time, they don't tend to lose qualifiers, Kerry. All 5 they've played since 2002, they have won. And at this moment in time, look, a good bet to maintain that 100% record. No changes on either side at the break. The number 23 in your picture, Paddy Dowd from Longford, who came in late in the first half. Kerry will play from right to left in this second half, playing into the town goal here at Pearse Park, with a 9-point cushion underneath them. Tommy Walsh to make it 10, and that's as easy a score as he'll kick this summer. Kerry look in a different class at times, and Longford again caught in possession.
Yes, much too easy. Hint of a free there. Tommy pulled the player as he was going back, but he dropped the ball far too easily and he popped it over the bar. It's very hard to win frees for tackles like that, but Kerry starting the way Longford needs to start.
Well, to put Longford's challenge into context this evening, by our count, the Kerry team that started here had 40 All-Ireland senior medals between them. Quite an incredible statistic. They've played in the last 5 All-Ireland finals in a row, and it looks like they are all set to progress just a little bit further this year too. Now a Kerry player down, injured in the centre of the field and receiving attention. Referee says play away. Francie McGee running into traffic. Ball work back out to Kevin Smith. Tommy Griffin looked to be all over Keane Mimna there. But Longford not getting the breaks. It's Declan O'Sullivan, in fact, who's down injured. A man who's so central to Kerry's plans, and I'm sure everybody a little worried there when they saw him hit the ground.
Yes, and he seems to be okay at this stage. Declan playing well today. Thought he was about maybe 5-10% off the pace in the last game against Cork. Didn't have a particularly good National League campaign, but was showing signs even in the game against Cork that he was almost back to his best, and playing very confident football today.
Nice knockdown by Darragh O'Shea. Playing the game at his own pace this evening. Donncha Walsh hurdling that challenge, trying to thread the eye of a needle there to pick out Cooper, but well won by Barry Gilleran. He needed that for his confidence. Player in possession is Kevin Smith. Again, Francie McGee using his body wisely, not for the first time, causing Mark O'Shea a couple of problems. David Barden fancying his chances. That's a fine score from David Barden. He had seen enough of the short passing and interplay, and with the breeze at his back, took his score in style. Yeah,
excellent score. Got the ball, just had one look and swung it over. Excellent point. That's the second point now after coming off the bench towards the end of the first half.
David Barden from Clongisha certainly made an impact, forming a two-man full forward line at the moment with Keane Mimna, as Tommy Griffin from Dingle heads out the field, but a little bit too casual, took too many steps. Certainly the words of the Longford manager Glenn Ryan will be ringing in his players' ears, you'd think, at the moment. He would not have been pleased with their pedestrian first half performance. His first year in the job. as all eyes fall on to Francie McGee. Man who made a name for himself on the Sigerson Cup circuit with NUI Maynooth. Tricky kick, and even with the wind at his back, wide of the target, it remains a 9-point match.
And I think Glenn Ryan's challenge to the team for the second half will be to win the second half, okay? It's 111 to 5 points at this stage, but, you know, he held them in quite a bit longer than Kerry. He'll be telling them to be far more competitive right around the field. And if they come in with a win, if they can win the second half, that'll give them a huge boost of confidence.
Well, a poorly struck kick out from Diarmuid Murphy has led to a free for Longford, but the Longford supporters pleading with Garo Jokanova to let that move develop. He didn't, and you wonder where the advantage was for Longford there, with Pádraig Berry in on goal.
Yeah, I think they'd probably prefer the fixed shot or the set shot at goal at this stage. Wet conditions on the run, more difficult to kick the points, particularly with a slight crossfield breeze coming from right to left.
Well, Longford's regular free taker from this right-hand side, Ger Denigan, is now in the dugout. Kevin Smith takes over and does so with aplomb. Well, they're hanging on in there, Longford. The gap has been reduced to 8 points, and Kevin Smith from Abbey Lara, played at wing back during the National League, has given the home support something to cheer. Enda Williams linking up with Dowd, and once more Smith goes down along that left-hand side. Good hands from David Barden. Tom O'Sullivan trying to make the angle more difficult, and whether it was the presence of O'Sullivan or a rush of blood to the head, Barden's shot was well off target.
Well, I can understand why he had the shot, because he's kicked the previous two over the bar, but if he had a little bit more vision, the cornerback Dermot Brady had made a fantastic run right down through the middle, nobody near him. As he turned, as David Barr turned onto his right foot, there was a great opportunity to pop a little pass into Brady, could have created a goal opportunity.
Here is Dermot Brady, one of the famous Brady clan from Cavan. His uncle Jim played with Cavan back in the 50s. Kevin Smith did really well there to work that ball to Paul Barden. Barden from long distance and over the bar. Well, the Longford captain keeps that scoreboard ticking over. His second point of the match.
Yes, and the focal point for all the Longford attacks now is David Barden. He's winning ball out in front of Tom O'Sullivan. Certainly put him under a lot of pressure, and the last three scores that Longford have got have all come through either directly from Barden or from his passing.
Well, Longford have hit 5 of the last 6 points in this game. They've hit a little bit of a purple patch, and now it's double scores. Kerry still very much in control of their own destiny, but being made to work a little bit harder in this second half. Tommy Walsh, the runner is Sean O'Sullivan. Here's Tommy Walsh again, can kick off either foot, and that again is sheer class. It makes it so much easier when you can choose right or left, and Kerry have stemmed the tide.
Absolutely. Well, the long ball that came in was won first of all by Tommy Walsh, bounced off a wet surface, strong hands, caught in his chest. 2 passes later, he receives a return on his left foot, kicks a point. He's kicked one with his right at the start of the second half. He's kicked another with his left.
So a goal and 2 for Tommy Walsh. Again, Enda Williams, who's won an awful lot of dirty ball. Good block by Darragh O'Shea. Got his big frame in the way. And Kerry will now try and hit Longford on the break. Declan O'Sullivan, tracked by 2 defenders. The loose man is Tommy Walsh. Now Donaghy, Gilleran trying to hold him up. Walsh again. Patient build-up from Kerry. This is Seamus Scanlon. Nice little sidestep. Denied by the woodwork. Might work out for Donegal Walsh though. Recycled to Cooper. And still Kerry bide their time. Sean O'Sullivan, dangerous ball. And Donaghy wasn't that very far away, but Kieran Donaghy would look to have injured himself as he fell after jumping into the air there. And remember, it was a broken bone in his foot that has kept him out of the game since April, and he looks to be in real distress.
Absolutely. The last thing that Kerry will want at this stage is to see Donaghy injured again, having played such a big part in their dominance in the first half. And he looks in agony there. Looks like as if he went over on his ankle, but Kerry again, a patient build-up, moving the ball across the field. Eventually Sean O'Sullivan knocking the ball in, and he just got under the ball a little bit, I think, Donaghy. And this could be serious trouble for Kerry if he's got to be taken off.
Well, most of Kieran Donaghy's 15-stone frame seemed to come down on his left foot there, and also seemed to get caught under the body of Barry Gilleran. Longford are making a change. This is Noel Farrell who's been taken off. Player who's coming in is Peter Foy, who started at corner-back against Wicklow first day out. Kerry also making a change. Declan O'Sullivan is being taken off and wrapped in cotton wool. And his namesake Darren, the Kerry captain this season, the player who has been sprung from the bench. Now will Jack O'Connor elect to do likewise, I wonder, with Kieran Donaghy and take him out of the game? What would you do, Paul?
Well, I think at this stage, if there's a doubt about his ankle, you'd certainly want to take him off, because they have a cushion at this stage. But he looks okay, and if you look at the medical people running off, they don't seem to be too perturbed, so that's usually a good sign. Maybe it was just a jar to his ankle when he landed awkwardly there.
Well, Kieran Donaghy may not have scored in this game yet, but he has been outstanding at full forward, and he will continue for the moment at least. A little over 10 minutes gone in this second half, and Kerry lead by 8 points at Pearse Park on what is a soft evening in the Midlands. And those that have made the trip to Pearse Park are certainly getting plenty in terms of entertainment. Kerry second favourites to win the All-Ireland this morning, and looking the part now. Kieran Donaghy is about to be withdrawn, we do believe. He will be coming off any moment. At the other end of the field, Longford about to build something, engineer something, penalised by Garo Jokanova. And I think Jack O'Connor deciding, Paul, that discretion will be the better part of valour with regard to Kieran Donaghy. I think
no doubt about that. It's a sensible decision. He'd like to have given him a bit more match time, given that he's been out of action for a number of months. He'd like certainly to have seen him finish the game, but he showed enough in the first half to demonstrate that his sharpness is back, his fitness is reasonably good, his touch is very, very good. And again, you know, he's brought Gooch into the game in the first half as well, and Gooch certainly hasn't been playing well in the championship so far to date. So I think Jack O'Connor will be very happy with his contribution so far in this game.
Well, that will be a worrying sign for Kerry supporters everywhere. Man who's come in to replace Kieran Donaghy, Barry John Walsh. And you begin to wonder, do Kerry have a conveyor belt of full forwards? Barry John, younger brother of Tommy, was playing minor football last year, in for his second run out in this year's championship. And everybody in the Kerry camp will be awaiting the medical bulletin on Kieran Donaghy. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Killian Young earning his keep at cornerback, as the rain shows no sign of subsiding, still falling in sheets. Foul on Porrick Berry, continuing to wear a track into Pearse Park, foraging for ball. And here's a chance for Francie McGee.
Yeah, well, certainly in the first 10-12 minutes of this second half, Kerry have taken the foot off the pedal a little bit, and that's kind of been typical of some of their league performances early on in the year, where they had outstanding first halves, and then they allowed teams come back at them. And you know, if Longford can get another couple of points here, it'll certainly put them under a bit of pressure and ask some questions.
Francie McGee had the distance, but again the radar just a little off. Longford have outscored Kerry in this second half, 3 points to 2, but their 5 wides have spoiled some of their good work further afield. And Kerry keeping them at arm's length. Again, Donncha Walsh reading that knockdown perfectly from Darragh O'Shea. Very underrated player, Donncha Walsh from Cremane. Started the drawn game against Cork, dropped for the replay. But in the absence of Paul Galvin and Ty Kennelly, putting in a good shift. Darragh O'Shea, 2 men to aim at. One of them is Cooper. Again, Declan Riley is the nearest man to him. Cooper drops the shoulder. Man outside if he needs him. As always, Sean O'Sullivan, willing and able. Tomas O'Shea, good block by Kevin Smith. Longford making life difficult for Kerry, forcing them to work to find a way through. And in the end, Enda Williams in the right place at the right time. Well, there may be 8 points between the teams, but Longford not giving up without a fight. Shane Mulligan, man from Mullinyochta, the half parish as it's known here in Longford. Possession won back by Tommy Walsh, and on an evening like this there's just no substitute for that bit of power, that bit of strength.
Yeah, it's a great tackle by Tommy Walsh. He's dispossessed the opponent about 4 or 5 times in this game already, as well as scoring a goal and a couple of points. So his all-round game will be very pleasing to Jack O'Connor, and he's working very hard in this second half, where some of the Kerry players have gone off the boil a little bit.
Well, we might be in the midst of the championship, but this game has all the hallmarks of a National League match, such as the terrible weather conditions. Colm Cooper there fouling the ball.
It'll be very interesting to see how Kerry adapt now that Donaghy has gone off. Will they change their tactics somewhat? Because in the last couple of occasions, last couple of cameos, they have been slow. They've had no penetration going in. They've been trying to move the ball across the half-forward line. They don't have the option of kicking high into Donaghy, and Tommy Walsh is playing 30-40 yards out the field.
Now a half chance for Longford. Lovely pick by Barden, kicking on the run, wide on his own side from David Barden. Well, he's kicked 2 points since he came in off the bench. He's also missed a few chances, and you just can't afford to not hit the target from there against Kerry.
Yeah, that was a poor miss. Got inside, and that, if he had scored that would certainly have lifted the crowd, because there's the sense here that if Longford can get a couple of points, you know, with Donaghy off, maybe they can get closer to Kerry, and maybe the last 10 minutes could be very exciting.
Well, there you can see we've had something of a barren spell in this game without a score. Stalemate prevailing. Kerry enjoying an 8-point lead, but getting sucked into a bit of a battle in certain areas around the field. Garo Jokanova feeling that Tommy Walsh was fouled there. Free quickly taken by Colm Cooper, but credit there to Paddy Dowd. Just closed down the avenue of attack, and Longford have possession. Barry Gilleran linking up with Diarmuid Masterson. Darren O'Sullivan in his face. Here's Gilleran again from the Longford Slashers Club. Once more it's Darren O'Sullivan who's working it. Shane Mulligan under pressure. Longford finding it hard to get out of their own half, but there is some space over on that far side. Diarmuid Masterson. Just 2 men to aim at inside. So Longford again take the scenic route. Pádraig Berry. Man providing the overlap is Paul Barden. Barden thought about the pass. He'll go for the score, and well taken. Well, that score has certainly been coming for Longford. His brother David off target twice. Paul makes no mistake.
Yeah, a fine finish from Paul Barden, but again, Pádraig Berry working very, very hard, dispossessing players, chasing chasing the Kerry players when they have the ball, and running at the Kerry defence there and popping a lovely pass to Paul Barden, who kicks it over the bar on the left with his left foot. Good play by both players.
So as we head into the final quarter, Kerry leading by 7 now. Let's hear from the studio once more.
Well, Kerry have taken their foot off the pedal, Mike, and if Longford would have a wee bit more belief up front, I think there's going to be opportunities here for them to get scores in the remaining 15-16 minutes. David Barden is getting space of Tom O'Sullivan. Mimna at full forward is capable of taking on Griffin. So I'd like to see Longford just stepping it up, playing with a wee bit more urgency, and at least make a game of it in the last 15 minutes.
Well, certainly, as Peter said there, Longford have been creating chances, just haven't been able to take enough of them. And Kerry would most certainly, since half-time, seem to have taken their eye off the ball. They've been outscored 4 points to 2 in the last 20 minutes, and they're making uncharacteristic errors.
Yeah, that was a very poor pass there, but you know, their work rate has lifted from the first half. They're forcing Kerry into errors, into handling errors in particular, and certainly they're the team that wants it a bit more at this stage.
This latest shot from Francie McGee, well wide, and well may Glenn Ryan shake his head. 7 wides for Longford, and even at this early stage you get the feeling they could be looking back on this purple patch, Paul, with real regret when all is said and done.
Well, absolutely. If they're going to claw back that lead, they need to take every opportunity they get, and they missed a couple of easy chances. It isn't easy out there. It is very greasy. There is a right to left breeze, and you know, Kerry defence have been doing pretty well so far, so they're putting all the Longford forwards under a lot of pressure when they're kicking for scores.
So a quarter of an hour to go, or thereabouts. Here's Paul Barden looking for his 4th point from play. The wides are beginning to mount up now. That's their 8th of the match. But around the middle of the field in particular, Kerry have gone off the boil. And you wonder at this stage, will Jack O'Connor begin to look over his shoulder and into the dugout and make some changes?
Well, no doubt about that. I think the breaks have been won by Longford at this stage. There's no doubt about that since the start of the second half. As I said, they have lifted their intensity and their work rate, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Kerry make a couple of changes at this stage. Maybe see David warming up there on the sideline. But every break is going to Longford at this stage. They're working extremely hard. A very good response from, I'm sure, a tough team talk at half-time from Glenn Ryan.
Well, no score for Kerry now for over 12 minutes in this match, as Sean O'Sullivan drives it in towards the danger area. Cooper peeling off the shoulder of his marker, Declan Riley. Support comes from Darren O'Sullivan. Not an evening when O'Sullivan will be able to use that blinding pace as much. Again, the Longford players pressuring the man in possession. A lot of lateral football from Kerry, but they hold possession. Killian Young. This is Barry John Welch. Back to Cooper. A little look at the goalpost, but as you'll hear from the roar of the Longford crowd, that was well away from the goals. Certainly Kerry on the scoreboard well in control, but out there on the field just now, Longford starting to get a foothold. Can they convert this possession into scores though, or enough of it? This is Cian Mimna. And outside in support, Peter Foy. Now it's Kerry's turn to organise that defence. Foy's kick, half blocked down. And the lack of a cutting edge in there near to goal. All too obvious for Longford again.
Yes, too easy to break it down, but for Kerry have a bit of a conundrum at this stage now, because in the absence of Donaghy, they seem to have no idea as to how to a different system to play. We saw that against Cork in the Munster semi-final and the replay. We've seen it again here in the second half. Lots of balls going laterally across the half-forward line. Perhaps they should put Tommy Walsh in the full forward line, in closer to goal, and play in the same role as Donaghy did in the first half. But Kerry don't seem to know what to do without the big man inside.
Well, they've just made a double substitution. Micheál Quirk and David Moran, both in off the bench, both of whom play their club football with the Kerrans O'Reilly's club in Tralee. As Jack O'Connor tries to shake things up. It's been a very lethargic performance by Kerry in this second half. No score for the last 16 minutes. Here's Barry John Walsh looking for his older brother inside, but dealt with by the Longford defence and cleared by Damien Sheridan. What a Longford goal would do for this match. Francie McGee, he's been busy out there on the half-forward line, looking for Mimna. Cut out by Tom O'Sullivan, using all his cuteness and experience there. This is David Moran, first touch for the substitute. Son of Ogie. Darragh O'Shea now. He's unlikely to give possession away too cheaply. Well, just as we say it, lost his footing. And those little things have not been going Kerry's way since half-time. Here's a chance for David Barden. Struck it well, off the timber and over the bar. Well, one thing you can't say about David Barden is that he's afraid to shoot. That's his third point from play. He's kicked as many wides, but he just keeps on having a go.
Yeah, and it's refreshing to see him. He wins the ball out in front. He has a quick look at the post. He doesn't try and solo go around the player. Kicks it on the turn. Great point. But Kerry are certainly worried because they have dropped Mark O'Shea right back in front of David Barden. So they're playing him in front of the twin full forward line at this stage. And that's certainly an indication that Kerry are worried about the type of ball that's coming in and the influence that David Barden in particular is having in this second half.
Well, Kerry's revamped defence are being worked this evening, particularly in this second half. Less than 10 minutes to go, 6 points between the teams, and Longford slowly but surely are building up ahead of steam, beginning to find some momentum. And I think no coincidence that the departure of Kieran Donaghy has coincided with Longford's resurgence. As we watch Paul Barden, he needs to nail this, and he has. The gap is back to 5, and the tide has certainly turned.
Oh, it certainly has, and Longford, you can see from the body language of the players, they're looking for the ball, they're working very, very hard, they're attacking the Kerry defence. And Kerry have made so many changes around the middle of the field that it's very hard for those new players to come in and to gain momentum when the tide is against them at this stage. Although you expect players of the quality of the Kerry bench to be able to do that. Certainly the momentum is with Longford at this stage, and if they have the belief, they certainly can claw this deficit back.
Important take by Micheál Quirk in the centre of the field. Kerry have been outscored in this second half by 6 points to 2. They did most of their damage before half-time, but it's been a different Longford in this second half. This is the kind of football that earned them a hard-fought win over in Carrick and Shannon last weekend against Leitrim. Starting to play with a little bit of style now. That was an important interception by Tom O'Sullivan. But as you can see, Longford dominant around the middle. This is Dermot Brady, little look up. The intended target again is Mimna. Might not be the biggest man in the world, but very effective. Paddy Dowd. He had a score on his mind, but it hadn't the legs to trouble the umpires or indeed Dermot Murphy. As Darren O'Sullivan gets this ball into his arms, and he will drive for that crossbar. Knows only one route to goal. Pass is poor though. Clawed away by Dermot Masterson. Well, for a team that spent all of the spring struggling in Division 3, Longford are beginning to play some nice, attractive football. Cooper, the covering player for Kerry there, putting in the challenge. Kerry far from convincing with the clearance though. David Moran hit by Kevin Smith, hit hard hard and fair, says Garo Jokanova. Line ball to Longford.
Line ball to Longford, and the question that everybody is asking, and I'm sure Glenn Ryan and the Longford public are asking, is why they didn't start like this in the first half. Because their pace that they're playing with, the intensity, the work rate, the tackling has improved 100% from the first half. Certainly Kerry have gone off the boil a little bit, but this is a completely different Longford team than we saw early on. And you often see it where teams are, maybe teams from the lower divisions, are well behind at half-time, and then they start to try and play football. And Longford certainly are doing this.
Well, Darragh O'Shea has got 64 minutes under his belt. He can give no more. Brian Sheehan is in for Kerry. Longford have also introduced a substitute as well, Kevin Mulligan. Kerry haven't scored now for over 21 minutes of this second half. Can Longford make them pay? Well, again, they were looking for the Bardens in there close to goal. The Mulligan brothers, Shane and Kevin, now on the field, along with the Bardens, Paul and David. And if Jack O'Connor and his selectors are worried, it's very hard to blame them. Longford have kicked 9 wides and are close, but not quite close enough.
Not quite close enough, and perhaps the problem is they're running out of time, and they will certainly rue the goal chance they had in the first half. There were 2 clear goal chances in this game. Kerry took one of them. Longford had theirs saved, and if they had scored that, certainly this game could be very, very tight.
Well, Micheál Quirk again winning a crucial kick out for Kerry. It allows them to build, and now sees Darren O'Sullivan once again in the thick of the action, but just muscled out of it by the impressive Kevin Smith. Here's Francie McGee. Man who continued the run was Smith, and certainly the midfielder from Abilara will sleep soundly tonight. He's worked very hard. It's a line ball to Longford. They remain camped inside the Kerry half. 4 minutes of normal time left in this qualifier on a rain-soaked evening at Pearse Park in Longford. But it has been compelling in this second half. Micheál Quirk and Dermot Brady was never going to be a fair matchup. No surprise that Garo Jokanova gave the free. There's Kieran Donaghy in the centre of your picture. Had such a big influence on this match in the first half, but picked up a knock. And he, like the rest of us watching, Paul Barden, very kickable chance. And that is another wide for Longford. Well, they're simply kicking it away in this second half.
Yes, they are, yeah. And again, it's very difficult for a team like Longford to convert every chance they get, because they are playing against one of the favourites for the All-Ireland Championship, and you expect in conditions like this that some of the kicks are going to go away, but you've got to give them 100% kudos for the effort that they've put in this second half, and for the way they've played, and the fact that their full forward line, their twin full forward line, has caused the Kerry experimental, you'd have to say, full back line a lot of trouble.
Well, just 2 points for Kerry in this second half. That will be a cause for concern later in the week. They have enough to be getting on with at the moment. That's a foul on Pádraig Berry. Well, Kerry's collapse around the middle of the field has been spectacular. Yellow card for Aidan O'Shea, but the pressure on the Kerry defence has been relentless for most of this second half.
Absolutely, and hats off to players like Pádraig Berry, who's played very well in the championship to date. He has his work rate, running at the defence has been most impressive. Anytime he gets the ball, he's going straight at the Kerry defence. When he doesn't have the ball, he's closing down all the options, and he's had a fine game for Longford.
Well, Kevin Smith does what he had to do. Pádraig Berry's hard work, winning the free, and Kerry haven't scored now for 25 minutes in this second half, and Longford slowly but surely getting closer and closer. And if they could engineer a goal, who knows what might happen.
Absolutely, but again, from a Longford perspective and Longford public, they may just run out of time.
Again, Quirk is found by Murphy and shows good hands in these difficult, greasy conditions. Aidan O'Shea is under pressure, though. The meat in a Longford sandwich. Killian Young. Again, though, the pressure is almost instant from Longford. This is Darren O'Sullivan. Enda Williams tracking his run. And between Williams, Masterson and Shane Mulligan, they've won a line ball for Longford. They are certainly not going down without a fight. This is Paddy O'Dowd, the Longford substitute. Just knocking in a hopeful ball. Kevin Mulligan, he's gone for it from distance. And Diarmuid Murphy watching it all the way. It'll be a 45, says the referee, Garo Jokanova. And with 30 seconds of normal time left of a nail-biting match, Paul Early, time for your selection for man of the match.
Well, I think there were a lot of contenders on the Longford team, particularly for the second half performance, but ultimately they might come up a little bit shy here, and for being clinical in front of goal and for his work rate and for dispossession and scoring 1-2, man of the match today is Tommy Walsh, the Kerry corner forward.
So Tommy Walsh is Paul's selection for man of the match. We've just watched Paddy Dowd missing that 45. We'll have at least 2 minutes of additional time. Well, the clock will tell you all you need to know. Will it be another one of those moral victories for Longford? Kerry look to have the match now well within their grasp.
Yes, I think so, and Glenn Ryan will take great encouragement from this second half display. Sometimes a new coach comes in and he has a very good first year, and then the graph dips after that. Second and third years aren't so good. Glenn would be disappointed with relegation to the Division 4 this year, but you know, it takes maybe some coaches a year or two to get their systems and get their plans and ideas in the players' minds, and certainly he'll be very happy that they're able to outscore Kerry in the second half and build a platform for perhaps future success for this Longford team over the next couple of years. Again, Kerry disappointing in the second half, again, like a lot of their league games, dominated early on, went off the boil, allowed a team to come at them. And again, when you display work rate and endeavour and enthusiasm and no little skill, you can certainly, Longford have shown that they can put it up to one of the top teams in the country. Kerry will be very disappointed with their second half display.
Well, we're deep into that second minute of additional time as Paddy Dowd manages to pick out McGee. Very tight angle. That's a dozen wides for Longford. They've outscored Kerry in this second half by 7 points to 2, but that is simply too many missed chances against a team of Kerry's quality and calibre. This is Philip Reynolds, player who featured in the Leinster Junior final replay during the week for Longford. Player who's been taken off is Kevin Smith, who has worked so hard. It looks like it's all over bar the shouting. Garo Jokanova, though, lets us play away for just a little bit longer. And there is the final whistle. Kerry failed to score for the final 34 minutes of this match, but they've done enough to survive. They leave Pearse Park in Longford with what they came for. Disappointment for Glenn Ryan and his team. They will now have the rest of the year to figure out where it all went wrong. They're out of the championship. Kerry, not so much march on, but they are in the next round of the qualifiers as Kieran Donaghy leaves the field on crutches. That will be a real worry. Tommy Walsh's goal really proved pivotal in the end, putting in a man of the match performance. And plenty for everybody to ponder after this game. Final scoreline here at Pearse Park. It's ended Kerry 112, Longford 11 points.
Well, it's been a day in which the influence and importance of Kieran Donaghy to this Kerry team has been emphasised. He hobbled off and Kerry limped to the finish line. Much to ponder for Jack O'Connor. Very worried after the second half performance. Analysis coming up. Lots more Gaelic games coming up on TV3. Every Friday we have all the latest news and discussion on Championship Throw-In at 6:30. And tomorrow at 5 minutes to midday we'll have episode 2 of the GA History Series, Part of What We Are. The fastest game on earth looks at the history of hurling. And the big one tomorrow, our coverage of the Leinster Senior Football Final commences at 1 o'clock with throw-in at Croke Park at 2. And then next weekend we'll have 2 more games. On Saturday we'll have the first pick in round 3 of the qualifiers, and on Sunday Galway take on Mayo in the Connacht final. Coverage begins there at 3:30 with throw-in at 4. So what about today's game here in Pearse Park in Longford? Talk about a game of 2 halves. In the end, Kerry limped home a goal in 12 to 11 points when it seemed to be all over at half-time. Only 2 points for Kerry in the second half of this game. Let's see some of the match stats. Possession in the first half for Kerry, 66%. It was down to 54% in the second half. 5 wides, no extra wides in the second half, which shows that they were so rarely down in the Longford end of the pitch. And how Longford will rue all the misses. 11 scores out of 29 efforts, 12 wides. Let's talk to Peter and Sennan about what was a remarkable second half. Peter, what happened to Kerry?
Yeah, they fell apart, and the headlines tomorrow will be Kieran Donaghy's injury. That as soon as Donaghy went off, Kerry fell apart. I think that would hide the real story of the game, and that when Donaghy did go off, Tommy Walsh actually won whatever ball was played in, but Kerry couldn't get their hands on the ball around the middle of the field. Dara ran out of steam, breaking ball. Sean O'Sullivan didn't win any. Declan O'Sullivan was taken off. So I think there's a lot of questions to be asked as Kerry team, not just surrounding Kieran Donaghy.
Okay, the injury though, hobbling off, how bad do you think that may be?
Well, we're looking at that picture there. He's not putting any weight on the foot that he landed on, so be it the foot or the knee, he's not looking like a player that's going to tug out next weekend. Kerry are looking at maybe playing 3 or 4 matches in a row, in the qualifiers, and he doesn't look like a player that's going to play. Initially when he landed on the knee, we thought he was all right, but he was certainly hobbling there.
And of course, he missed the games against Cork. Let's have a look maybe at some of the things that he did do for Kerry before he went off injured.
Yeah, he gives them that out. As you can see, as we mentioned before, the halfbacks in the midfield are looking for him all the time. We mentioned at half time he's very unselfish. He taps the ball down. He's very aware of players that are coming in at speed around him, and that's from his basketball background really. He'll bring everyone into the game, as well as having 2 good feet himself.
Yes, that's right. He can win his own ball, but again, we said at half time about how well the Gooch had played because of that. When Donaghy went off, Gooch hardly touched the ball for the remaining 10 or 15 minutes.
Does that mean the Gooch needs Donaghy to win his ball for him?
Well, we said that in the Cork game, how disappointing it was that Gooch wasn't coming out trying to win his own ball. Anthony Lynch was out time and time again, and that seemed to be the case somewhat. At the finish, the last 5 minutes of the game, he ended up out around his own half-back line, just trying to get the ball. So that's worrying from a Kerry perspective.
Yeah, how worrying is that Kerry seemed to fall apart as the game went on? The players were all over the place.
Yeah, well, I think the Longford tactics in the second half were spot on. At stages there, they had 13 men in their own half. They were blocking channels and they weren't allowing Kerry to pick off scores, and that played into their own hands, and Kerry were just getting annoyed. They weren't allowed those channels to kick balls over the bar. But I mean, it's a fall. They fell apart in the second half.
Yeah, well, let's see some of the positive things from Longford, particularly in the second half. And the Bardens, first half and second half, were probably the best players for them, weren't they?
Yeah, we mentioned it before the match that David Barden was on the bench, and when he came on, he was excellent there. He gave Thomas Sullivan a third of time in the match altogether. Now, Paul Barden, we mentioned before, is a key player. He has pace and he has speed and he can kick with both feet. But for me, David Barden was the difference. Brian Kavanagh went off, and this fella came on. He was kicking scores from all over the place, both in the first and second half. He was kicking scores from distance.
He did miss a few as well, though, didn't he?
Yeah,
did he perhaps try too much?
Yeah, but that's it as well. I think he had one chance in the second half where we were on and near to go for a goal, and he came in, he clipped it wide when there was nobody near him, and they will probably rule those chances. But still, he's going to be happy with his day. And I mean, Thomas Sullivan's a quality corner back, and he gave him a third time there.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Paul Barden on the ball more. Any time he was on it, things seemed to happen here. He's scoring from distance here, and he came into the game for a 10-minute spell there in the second half, and things started to happen again. If he had converted his goal chance in the first half, Longford would have been going in. Again, the Breeze only 6 points down. That would have made a massive difference to the game.
I think as well, he gained in confidence as the match went on. He didn't look like a confident player when he went through for that goal in the first half. If he had 3 or 4 points on the board, I think he would have went straight at the keeper and just slotted into the back of the net. He didn't look confident there.
But what about all those misses in the second half? I mean, how many wides? 11 wides in the second half?
11 wides, and they were from scoring positions, and that's the killing part from a Longford point of view.
And other errors as well, which gave Kerry chances.
So the point I was going to make was that again, 11 wides is bad, but in the first half, when they had good scoring opportunities, opportunities. They kicked 3 or 4 into the goalkeeper's hands. Not alone is that bad enough, but they allowed Kerry to build out and to set up scoring opportunities themselves. So Glenn Ryan would be bitterly disappointed with his forward from that point of view, but his team left the pitch today and they were applauded by their own supporters, and you know, at half time we couldn't have seen that happening. They put out a commendable performance in the second half. They fought bravely, they fought hard for every ball, they tackled and they hurried, but it just too little too late.
But Senator, I want to keep going back to Kerry, because this is the team that's supposed to be going for the All-Ireland. How did Kerry only score 2 points in the second half? What does that say about them?
Well, one key thing is obviously they're missing Donaghy, but secondly, you know, they were lethargic during the second half and they were very sloppy. They were giving passes that were spilling away from the players, and that's not what we associate with.
But Kerry teams of old wouldn't they not have just destroyed Longford in the second half for the fun of it?
Absolutely. Kerry teams would be ruthless. We saw Dublin do it with Westmeath there before, and they have to go for the jugular, but they just weren't given the space to actually do that.
OK, we will be back with more analysis of this game after this short break.